Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Sleepless Ninja. Today, let's take a look at a 10-inch tablet, a Xoom, and compare it to the Nexus 7. So, I'm going to kind of break it up into sections. First we'll just go over the general design. Then we're going to go into, for basic browsing and reading and everyday practice. Then we'll compare it as for gaming, and then also compare it for those who want to develop applications. Not a major developing application, but you know, you're a person that just wants to tinker you yourself and make applications. What device is better? So, first off, the very easy thing is the size. You know, the 10-inch tablet is larger than the 7-inch tablet. And with that, comes a different type of user interface. The Nexus 7 resembles a lot like the phone interface. And I have a Galaxy Nexus right here, and you can kind of see they have a very similar look with the app tray, the bottom, the notifications, almost identical. This has ice cream sandwich, so it's a little bit different, but for the most part, the Jelly Bean operating system here on the Nexus 7 is meant to have this landscape, very phone-looking thing. And initially I was kind of disappointed in this, but I've grown to be accustomed to this and holding it in this landscape fashion in one hand. The Xoom, you know, I typically hold it with two hands like this, or the one hand, and you know, I really like this layout a lot. I like being able to have your notifications here and your buttons very spread out. But honestly, you can modify this. You can modify the user interface, and I've had plenty of videos in the past that show the customability of Android. So this really shouldn't be something against the Nexus 7, because if I didn't really like it that much, I could just change it. So let's not count that against it. Now, other general things, memory. This has 8 gigabytes or 16 bytes. This has a much larger storage, 32, and I have internal storage. So overall, or an SD card. This does not have the ability of having an internal SD card. So, as far as storage goes, this might not be the thing if you're a very storage heavy person. What's nice is Google has a lot of cloud-based services, so if you're always within reach of an internet connection, storage is not a problem. However, if you got long car rides and you can't tether your Nexus 7 to get internet, it might not be the solution for you. Although again, Android customizability, you can root, you can mount a USB stick to it, and be able to have additional storage. But out of the box, it might not be exactly the thing you're looking for that reason. Other things besides the aesthetics and it's really just personal preference. Some people like this really hold it in one hand, reading, you know, very nice. I can open up the Kindle app to kind of show you. You know, it's very nice to be able to look at that and just read and flick through. Or the other way is I do read on the Xoom this way too, but I'm more of a big screen person. So if you're a bigger screen person, then you're gonna enjoy reading in the same way on your Xoom, but I usually hold it like this. What I do find is I do a lot of public transportation. So I'm riding on the bus, and at times it can be very squished, a lot of people trying to fit in tight. It's a little harder when you're very squished up and elbows across each other with people to have a Xoom and read. However, with the Nexus 7, I have found it very easy to work in very tight, cramped areas, hold it very close to me, and still have no problem. So I kind of went over very, light touches and kind of explained my perspective. Personally, for viewing things, I prefer the Xoom and reading the news. But in those tight areas where I don't have the room, and public transportation is really just one of those things that I ride every day, so it becomes a big thing, I would prefer to have this on me. As far as, you know, being light and fits, yeah, I wear cargo shorts or cargo pants. This fits right in. So I'm not really carrying a lot of extra gear, fits in my pocket, and so that's very convenient. You know, the Xoom's a little bit too big, 10-inch screens are a little bit big to do that. The other thing, as far as we're talking about general, is of course this ability to have HDMI out. Currently, there is not a solution. There is a software solution to be able to stream videos and movies and music from your Nexus 7, excuse me. However, there's no direct video out. There's no hardware solution. So, and you can't like stream your apps out. It's really just being able to read a file on your Nexus 7 and that gets streamed. So it's really not a great solution. So if you're looking for something where you can connect to a projector or to a TV or to a monitor, this isn't going to fit the bill at all. Whereas a lot of the 10-inch tablets, including the Xoom, has a video out. So one of the big pluses, and it could also be a big negative, is the Nexus 7 charges via USB. So a lot of people in the beginning were complaining about the Xoom when it came to the fact that you actually can't charge via micro USB. Now, yes, you have this little dongle that you need, and if it breaks, it's a big hassle to purchase another one. But because of that mini charging plug, the Xoom charges much faster. But that's not the only thing. It doesn't take up the USB port. So, and I will go into this when I'm talking about gaming on the Galaxy Nexus a little bit more, and it will make more sense. But you can't charge this if you're using the USB port, because what happens is when it's in OTG mode, host mode, the power is being drawn from your Nexus 7. Therefore, you can't charge it by putting power in. It doesn't work both ways. It's either in or out. So you can't be charging your device via USB when you're using OTG. And that could present a problem, whereas the Xoom, since it has a dedicated power, you can be using your USB and be charging at the same time. So I just thought I would throw that out. You know, there's a you know, a lot of things, a lot of differences. So I just wanted to, you know, weigh each one of these. I'm sorry that it's not very visual, but weigh each one of these. And now, I probably should have turned that on sooner too, so I apologize. So now let's move on to gaming. So first we'll start out, we'll open up Dead Trigger on both of these. So I find, as far as gaming goes, it's much more enjoyable on the Nexus 7. For now, and when I say that, I mean it when it comes to just playing directly on the screen, using the touch. And this applies to many games, just not the Dead Trigger. But as you can see, it really fits well within your two hands, and everything on the screen for the most part is within your touch. So you're not really stretching. One of the things with the Xoom is that since it is a 10-inch screen, you have to really stretch sometimes to hit some of the buttons, and honestly, it can be very tiresome to be able to have to stretch your finger in. Here in the Nexus 7, since the screen's small enough, you don't really have to deal with it. You can pretty much touch anywhere on the screen without stretching too much. And I can kind of show you what I mean. So you can see a lot more real estate to deal with, which is great because I like the bigger screen. I enjoy things on the bigger screen. However, when it comes to playing, things like having to go up and switch guns, you know, I have to actually shift my whole hand, and things like turning, and if any action is in the center, all of a sudden I have to move my hand completely away. Let's see if I get grabbed. Hopefully, maybe. No? See? So I have to all of a sudden reach in, and it usually fails. So for games, a lot of games, and another example, let's go to another awesome game. If you haven't played Major Mayhem, you definitely should. It's one of those games where it's two-dimensional, and the guy, it's self-moving, but you basically click on the screen where you want to fire and hit the enemies. It's kind of like an on-the-rails one-dimensional shooter, or two-dimensional shooter. And it's just to hold, you can't really hold your Xoom like this and play. You really have to like hold it in one hand and then use the other, and you'll see in a second what I mean. But you can see I'm trying. You have to shoot all around the field, so you can't really hold it like a controller because, yeah, sometimes they're in your view, but when they get out, you kind of really have to stretch your hands over. So, and cover a great deal of your screen. So as far for gaming on screen, as you can see, a little bit difficult. I'm being pretty thorough right now. So I apologize for those who like it wham, wham, bam. But I'll break it up, and so you can go to what you want to see. Now, what's nice about both of these is controllers kind of level the playing field. That is, you can use the OTG and connect your Xbox or your PS3 controller, with the OTG. Wonderful. And the ability to be able to do something like this means that the Xoom, all of a sudden, that problem with the touchscreen for a lot of the games is rectified. Not all of them, but for a lot, so that's great. And the other cool thing about that is with the Xoom, since you have video out, you can hook it up to your TV, you can hook it up to your monitor or to your projector, and all of a sudden you have like a console. You have your controller and you have it projected on the screen and you're playing. So for a lot of cases that works phenomenal, and that's actually just not possible. You can't play games and connect it to your monitor on the Nexus 7 because it just does not have a video out right now. Maybe a software solution that can stream the screen will come out, and that would be phenomenal. But until something like that comes out, right now you just can't do that. So for gaming, bear that in mind. If you want something where you can put it on the big screen, the Nexus 7 might not be it for you. Now the other thing with gaming, and this is back to the controllers and the charging issue, if you're plugging in your controller, your Nexus is then powering that controller, and that will drain on the battery. And if you're someone who plays for 2, 4, 6 hours straight, I wish I had your time and I wish I was you, but if you are that person, your Nexus 7 is going to run out of battery, and since you can't charge it only through the USB, it's just going to run. You're going to have to pause it, put on pause, and then plug it in. And that kind of stinks. Whereas with most tablets that have dedicated power, that's not going to be the problem, like the Xoom. So that's just that's another reason. But as you can see, there's benefits and cons all around for gaming. So really consider them and think about it. Do you want video? Do you want to be able to charge and use the controller for prolonged gaming periods? Do you want something where you can just pick it up and just touch it and play like it was pretty much meant to be developed for, and not really have to stretch your fingers on the screen? There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. And I don't think there's really a clear winner. It's really what you want, and you'll have to think about it. Now, let's move on to web. Now, if you're buying this for browsing the web, really, the one downside to this right now, and this is really just a stock thing, you're stuck with the Chrome browser by stock. You don't have the nice Jelly Bean browser or excuse me, you just don't have the stock browser that usually comes with Android, this Chrome browser. And there's some good things with the Chrome browser, don't get me wrong. However, one thing that I love about the stock is these quick keys, and at least as far as I know, there's no way to get that in Chrome yet. Hopefully they're going to implement it. There are ways to get the stock browser on here, but I'm just saying, right out of the box, that's kind of a bummer. And the other thing, of course, is screen real estate. So bear that in mind. If you're going to be browsing the web, you want to be able to be comfortable with what you're viewing. And on an Nexus 7, you might be zooming in a lot. Whereas with the Xoom and a lot of 10-inch tablets, that's not the case. So it's really personal taste. I prefer browsing on the Xoom. And a lot of the nice things about Jelly Bean has improved the user experience. Because one of the really pain in the butt things that a lot of the browsing was filling in forms and boxes and typing. There was kind of like a 2-second lag, and you can see my past videos for that. But with Jelly Bean on the Xoom, and you'll probably see this a lot with other of the tablets as well, the lag is for the most part gone. Of course it's going to lag on me just as I'm saying this, but now that it's finished loading, you can see the lag is pretty much non-existent. That was my one gripe with browsing. There was a little bit of lag in the input, and it became annoying waiting for the Xoom to catch up. Not the case. So it's really, do you prefer small, compact reading, or do you want the nice big real estate? Obviously the graphics, this is a little bit more, this is smoother, it's much better CPU, but don't let all the power and the beef outweigh the fact that you have a bigger screen and you're working with it, and that if you have a little bit of patience, it's actually a pretty fast and responsive device. Now, and the same thing I showed you, the reading, the same thing with mail. It really comes down to the fact you want a big, you like the big real estate, or you like the small. The speed is not huge of an issue. For gaming and the emulator, it becomes an issue for some things, but honestly, I still consider them on par. It's definitely a buttery smooth device, but I'm not nitpicky on the responsiveness of the Xoom. So now let's move to developers. Why would a developer want this device? Now, as a developer, someone who just wants to tinker, make applications for themselves or for others to share, hands down, I don't even recommend the Xoom. I'm going to put it away because this is an amazing device to work with. First off, it's only $200, so you're not taking a big hit in the pocket when you want to get started on something. You know, especially with Android, because a lot of the resources and tools are free. You don't really have to pay for anything to then just pay $200 for a device that has every single feature that you would want. Accelerometers, gyroscope, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It has NFC. All of these things, all of these sensors, you know, a beautiful screen, you know, 1 gig of RAM, quad-core processor, so much to work with. You have a camera, you don't have a back-facing, so if you have something that requires back-facing, that might be not the greatest and only setback, but from a development standpoint, for all the sensors and all the cool things that it can do with those sensors, this is an outstanding platform to start with. You know, if you're a large development company, kudos for watching. But you're gonna want a device custom for many. You're gonna want one of every device, so you can make sure that your application is good for for everything. So obviously, if you had, you're not going to be watching this if you had to pick one device to develop on. But I'm saying if you had one device to develop on, it would be this. Cheap, has all the sensors, it has NFC. There's no other tablet that I can think of that has NFC, that is Android. And it's really cool. And so I wanted to kind of end also showing the NFC, but I've already taken a lot of time up, so I'll make that a separate video. But I hope this kind of showed you the different points and reasons and ways to justify to yourself why you should get one device over the other. Because at the end of the day, for me, I'm reading and watching movies and browsing and email all on my Xoom. When I am using this, it is for gaming, on-hands gaming, touchscreen gaming, and I'm also using this when I'm in public transport and tight cramped places or when I don't want to carry that much with me. So, two very different devices with, I think, two different purposes, different price points, different sizes, different features and capabilities. Weigh them in your mind, and I know you'll make the right decision. Thank you so much, everyone.